I know, not my first.
One day, so one for 3 weeks.
Did he ask me there several, or is he a partner?
He has 10 weeks of vacation as part of his sales, but he's basically a partner.
Right.
Yeah.
Essentially,
It's
3 weeks.
like you said, medicine.
Oh, heck yeah. No. That would be, no. 10 weeks is a lot. I don't take 10 weeks.
No,
I've been there 35 years.
no.
Wait a minute, I don't take that. I'm never taking that.
I took 2.5 weeks to go to Europe last summer.
Yeah, but you work quite a bit.
A little bit. I scanned my email.
I'd like to welcome everybody to Monday, June the 22nd of 2026, the regular meeting of Town Council. Thank you all for being here. This is a very nice crowd we have this evening. We have lots of stuff to do. So we'll get started. First of all, everybody has a copy of the agenda, and if there are any adjustments to the agenda, or if anybody would like to make a motion, yes, sir.
Mayor, I would like to propose moving the WEDAC update and proposed economic development up to the number 7, updates from town council on committees.
Remove it or move it?
Move it.
Move it.
Move it, okay.
Any discussion about that? All in favor of making that move, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank
Aye.
you.
Ayes have it. So, would you make a note of that, please? Thank you. So from a conflict of interest statement, it's the duty of the mayor and every town council member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflicts. Does any member have any known conflict or of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before town council tonight? Seeing none, we'll move forward. There are no conflicts. The next thing we have on our agenda is the Citizens Academy graduation. So if the town manager is ready to proceed with that.
Mr. Mayor, Council, one, we appreciate all the citizens that have been involved in the Citizens Academy. Hope you've got a great experience and learning tool out of it. And it opens the doors to you to be more engaged and understanding the process as we move forward. And we do have some vacancies on committees and different things, and hope that piqued your interest for opportunities moving forward. So I'll call out the names, and the mayor is going to give you a certificate and a cup. So if I call your name out, come forward and stand there long enough for Tamara to get your picture. But the first one on the list tonight couldn't be here, which is Chip Fuller. He emailed us and stated that he couldn't be here tonight. So moving along is Dan Merle. Dan, yes. Thank you, Dan. Next one is Michael Schooner. Chair, okay. All right, thank you, sir. Next on the list is Michelle Shelley Jackson. Don't think she's here. All right. David Bilbrey. Jennifer Hurst. Audrey Worley. Thank you. Susan Johnson.
This was a great experience, and if you haven't done it, you ought to.
Thank you. Catherine Luke. Don't see her. All right. Walter Bonnet.
Hey, does council get the no-shows tax?
I want everybody to know that this is how I got started. You're not listening.
Elise Boski. Mac Loudon. Leon Monday.
One for safety.
Amanda Lowe. Thank you. Kimberly Stroop. Don't see her. Okay. Johannes Metabor. Pretty close. And right behind him is Lisa.
This way, Lisa. Thank you.
Jean Broadhead. And then Harold Broadhead. Sarah Nutter. Matthew Tinchevis. Robert Woodson. Dylan Cable. Connor Anderson. And Kurt Anderson. And one more. Yeah, Savannah Sweating. She's not here? Okay. All right, that was it. That was our last one. So, yeah, I see it out here now. Yeah. My hand was taken up.
Okay, so everybody now has the consent agenda. We'll move forward with that. I have a motion to accept the consent agenda or make changes.
I make that motion to accept the consent agenda with no changes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Mr. Harris?
Mayor, Council, for your town manager report tonight. We'll go over it a little more in detail later on the legislative updates to kind of give you some updates that were in my manager report. I want to take this opportunity to thank our representatives in the General Assembly for advocating for Weaverville and local government. They have been working hard to get us relief from the satellite annexation cap and on this bill that impacts adopted in fiscal year 26-27 budget. Some legislative updates will be provided later in the meeting here, but following Buncombe County with our Weaverville representatives, highlighted in bold is Senator Julie Mayfield and Representative Lindsey Prather, Senator Mayfield from District 49, Lindsey District 115. Senator Warren Daniels is from District 46, Representative Eric Ager, and Representative Brian Turner, District 116. So they've been instrumental in several bills that have been going through our legislation, and a little of them we'll talk about later on 889 and 447, as well as an annexation cap bill that Senator Mayfield has been working on for us. For our July 4th celebration, food trucks will be set up around 5:30 at the clock lot, and band Snap will be performing, taking the stage around 7 p.m. Our fireworks is anticipated to kick off around 9:20, and for clarification, it will be two separate ones. The county will be doing North Buncombe. That is a totally county separate entity from ours. We were not made aware of it until, like most of you, that you started getting phone calls or seeing social media posts that the county had moved theirs from the Arden area out to North Buncombe High School. So again, that'll be taking place that same evening. Our clock lot will be closed off starting that Friday morning, early Friday morning, to allow vendors to deliver some product and start the setup process with our porta johns and tents, things of that nature. So that with that being their last working day, we can go ahead and get some of those items in place there. The Music in the Park series, first Music in the Park was held in the Main Street Nature Park on June the 6th. Was well attended. The next concert, Chronological Music, a jazz group, is scheduled for July the 11th. Our fire chief and a couple members of the department are down in Florida this week doing our final acceptance on the engine. It should be delivered the first part of July, and it'll go to the Asheville office of Atlantic Fire Trucks there, and to have some final updates done to it, and then we will accept it from there. The vendor will be driving it back for us. We do not operate and drive it back, so that it's still under their realm if anything were to happen traveling the interstate back down here. For speaking and teaching engagements that I've been involved in, recently on May the 26th, a podcast was presented by Seth Winterhart on leadership in local government, and I participated in that. We recorded it about 3 weeks ago, and he finally released that in that. On June the 4th, myself and a couple other staff members did an interview with a UNC MPA student for a project she was working on, leadership and workplace culture. Tree giveaways for Arbor Day Foundation. The town has been provided with 100 trees for reforestation. Some of these have been kept by town staff for planting on town properties, others being cared for by town board members, and then donated to the community at the Music in the Park events. Trees were given out on June the 6th and will be available again on July the 11th. Tree species have included cedars, red maples, white oak, arrowwood, amongst others. And so I saw Friday we had several boxes come in as well for more trees to be giving out. So they are working diligently on that, and they will be available at the Nature Park Music event on July the 11th. Recreation complex updates. The fence behind the basketball goal has been updated and extended in order to, hopefully when people are helping us build the retaining wall there, then now we have a way to keep it from rolling down the hill and stopping some of those shops going over the fence so that we can try to keep the ball in the court. This was done for safety reasons as well as making play more enjoyable. Picnic tables have been set up at the recreation complex, and we're working on installing raised beds for a community garden that will be in partner with a community programming. The noise abatement panels at the pickleball courts have not held up well, and many are down right now. So we're working on figuring out another alternative for that, and getting as many of those back up as possible in the coming weeks, and looking for some longer lasting alternatives in that. These, the ones that went up clearly didn't hold up well or last long during the environment, so we're working on different options for that. Our regional hazard mitigation plan, Buncombe and Madison counties both have adopted the new regional hazard mitigation plan. The town of Weaverville and other municipal jurisdictions will also need to adopt this plan for compliance with FEMA and North Carolina Emergency Management. The plan is over 600 pages long and will be sent out to council via email if possible in the coming days, and council will be asked to consider its adoption at the July 27th town council meeting. Upcoming events is our July 4th celebration. Town offices will be closed on the 3rd. Planning board meeting at 4 p.m. on July the 6th. Board of Adjustments meeting at 6 p.m. on July the 6th. Tree board meeting at 6 p.m. on July the 8th. July the 11th is music at the Nature Park at 6 p.m. July the 13th, Town Council regular workshop meeting. And July 27th, Town Council regular meeting at 6 p.m. And that concludes your manager's report.
Thank you very much. Now's the time that the council gets to have a go at it and kind of give an update, if you will, to the projects that you're aware of, that you've been working on, and status and good things that are happening to your knowledge, and keeping everybody informed. So, who would like to start? Mark?
I can get a good start. I'll just speak on the two boards that I'm on, the Municipal Sewerage District Board. We just got through budget season, so just like here. The finances with MSD are in great order. It's a really well-run entity. Our rates that we pay for MSD are much lower than other comparable municipalities, and they invest most of what they get back into the just improvements. I also joined a couple of committees for the board, the right-of-way committee and the capital improvement committee, so I'll be involved with those. The other board that I'm on is the French Broad Municipal Planning Organization. For that, the one item that I'll bring up is they are debating, and in the August meeting we'll be voting on whether to support an initiative called Lenny's Law. This was born off from the couple of cyclist deaths that happened on Riverside Drive up in Madison County. And so the concept here is the folks are interested in establishing a law, kind of establishing like speed zones, but for popular cycling routes throughout the state. And so what they're looking for, both with the MPO and also municipalities, so this kind of dual purpose here, is whether or not we'd be interested in signing a letter of support for that. And so as your rep, I'm just looking for a little bit of feedback on whether or not that's something we would be interested as a municipality of doing a letter of support ourselves, but also if I should carry that forward to the MPO. So we can discuss that further at the next town council meeting. There's time for that.
Ms. Barnett?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to update everyone on our Weaverville Economic Development Advisory Committee. And first of all, from the committee's standpoint, they want to thank council and town staff for their support, both in terms of providing us meeting space at the community center and also the stipend that was granted. So everyone's very appreciative of that. I wanted to let all of you know that in the face of skepticism, we actually have 40 volunteers on the distribution list for WEDAC. So it's been an amazing, congregation of interested professionals, entrepreneurs, and folks who are very dedicated to creating opportunity for the town. So it's been a really fun exercise for me. The economic development policy that you see in your packet really has to do with a discussion the committee had many months ago. Actually, this was a precursor to our own town's establishment of its own goal set. So I think it was really a good discussion and good feed in to that development. And as you can see in your packet, we're aligned with 6 of our 8 town goals. So I think already we had really good overlap in terms of thinking and where all of you with public input came to converge on our list of goals. So intentional tourism, diverse affordable housing, safe streets, healthy neighborhoods, community amenities and infrastructure, planning, policies and resources, and small and medium business support has really been the committee's focus. So I wanted to highlight 4 in-flight projects that we have going that really fit into these strategic goals. One has to do with the entertainment of the Western North Carolina Museum of Culture and History. Member Young and I met with the board of that museum and explored the concept of placing the museum on the campus of the Thermo Fisher Scientific campus at some point. So I wanted to mention I had a discussion with the CFO's office on Friday. That proposal actually has made it to the Thermo Fisher real estate office. So, fair warning, Mayor, you may get a call.
I'm used to that now.
Okay. Under intentional tourism, certainly the Ball Crank Pickleball Club and the Ball Crank Arcade, which the committee has supported now for probably 2.5 years, really fits in, I think, very well with our intentional tourism focus. And certainly, and again, thank you, Mayor, for standing in for us for WLOS. I think it was really good press. Under diverse and affordable housing, you know, we're actually focusing on organizing now a completely, you know, volunteer-led newcomers organization, which is going to connect with all of these new occupants of our 10 approved real estate developments. So, you know, we're anticipating a large number of new citizens, and we definitely want to be welcoming and really, you know, form a communication forum for that. And I think that fits very well with Manager Harris's initiative to really elevate citizen communication. Under community amenities and infrastructure, again, you know, the Ball Crank Arcade, I think, is going to provide a great new substrate for really drawing a lot of citizen activity and also tourism and regional participation in what the new offerings are going to be. You know, beside pickleball, we've already heard about a skating rink, a skateboard park, you know, a couple of restaurants and a pub, and, you know, the options are still open, but, you know, we're being told that the building is completely sold out. So that's been a great, I think, achievement for the town. We're also, from our committee, focusing on hotel reconnaissance, and we've identified in a 10-state radius of Weaverville, all of the developers. The committee basically is going to be mailing out Weaverville opportunity focus packets to those developers, and hopefully, Mayor, again, you get some phone calls from them. And then lastly, I wanted to mention under planning policies and resources, we are successful in standing up a 501c3 Weaverville Foundation that is really going to be focusing on fundraising for projects that the town and citizens are not expected to fund. So, you know, this really has to do with, you know, what are our council and our other committees' priorities, and where can the foundation step in and really advance and accelerate your ideas for enhancing, you know, our community and, you know, the offerings that we have here. The foundation actually, thanks to the Reams Creek Golf Club, is going to hold a fundraiser on 9/11, September 11th. And if you're interested in playing golf in that activity, you know, let me know. But anyway, again, you know, my thanks as a chair to you know, to this council and to the town for all of the support that we've had.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that detailed explanation of what's going on. Ms. Young, did you care to add anything to that? That might be a little more brief.
Actually, not as brief. So Advent Health is still on track with their 92 beds. I'm sorry, with 93 beds. They applied for an additional 92 beds on June the 15th. So hopefully we will get those extra beds added to our build project. But the 93 beds, 67 are 100% approved, 26 are still in litigation, but they think that the litigation will end prior to the opening of the building, and it won't even be a snafu at all. I also serve on the Patriotic Committee. We had a really great turnout for Memorial Day. We had 180 people come to Memorial Day, which the place was packed, and some people, like our councilman here, couldn't find a place to park. And so I think there were people that turned away because there were no parking. But to have 180 people show up for Memorial Day was quite fantastic. Bryson Shook and I are also leading a patriotic prequel, I guess, to the 4th of July celebrations. It is our 250th anniversary of the town, so we will be doing Pledge of Allegiance with some children. So if you have any kids that want to come and participate, We ask that they be there around 6:15, and we can let them help us lead the pledge. We've got the Brake family coming to sing some patriotic songs for us. And so instead of it just being a music event, we wanted to put a little patriotism in that celebration. I also serve as delegate of Land and Sky Regional Council. We have been working with the Department of Environmental Quality and have gotten approved 2 mobile microgrids that will increase resilience during the storms. This partnership showcases critical power and refrigeration assets that are solar and battery powered on towable trailers. They're going to put 24 of these type trailers out in the 4-county region of Land and Sky. Some of this will be to power things for Man and Food Bank so they can keep their food processes going. Some of it will be to charge equipment, medical devices, phones, things of that nature, and some will be for water filtration systems. So we're really happy to get that supported and put behind us. They are also having a Western North Carolina Home Repair Readiness Program to address minor home repairs, to patch a roof or do some minor repairs to mitigate any future storms that may happen. I also work with the Council on Aging, and I lead a caregiver support group at Brookstone Church. And they came and gave a very fun talk on Medicare and insurance counseling for people that need some help navigating those systems. Some resource coordination that includes the housing and long-term care, some home repair, grab bars, ramps, and things of that nature. They do some resource coordination with connecting local support, respite care, and education. And they also support the senior meal site up here at the Baptist Church. And I'm happy to report that the senior meal site, the same day that we had Music on Main on the 13th, had a fundraiser, and they were able to raise $18,000 for their cause. You know, the town gave them the $6,000 stipend this year, which they greatly appreciate. But they were also able to raise the $18,000 to help feed our senior citizens up there. They have multiple fundraisers throughout the year. They're completely nonprofit. So anytime that we can help support their cause, I'm happy to do that. I'm also appointed to the Buncombe County Audit Committee as a municipal representative, and we oversee the internal and external audits of the county, and also look at the county's risk management, control, and governance processes. So I'm involved with that. And July 6th, I will be nominated for board appointment to Reclaim Healthcare Western North Carolina.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, sir.
One footnote to Member Young's comments. I promise it'll be short, Dee. With respect to Memorial Day, we've approached our 3 large churches on Main Street with the idea of hosting the Memorial Day celebration because of the collision that we had this year with all of the picnickers and pickleballers. So we have positive expression of interest from Weaverville Methodist and consideration by First Baptist.
Okay. Peter, do you have anything you'd like to speak to?
I'll be very, very brief.
Thank you.
I am going to be speaking at the WBA's August meeting and presenting there. That's it.
Yes, very good.
I
Mr.
don't
Chase?
have anything.
Anything, Andrew? No. If that's said, we'll move on then. So now it's time for our general public comments. The town council appreciates the opportunity to hear from its residents, and a part of each of its regular meetings is reserved for that purpose. The rules that town council has adopted for public comments will apply. Copies are available on the website and in the meeting room. General public comments may be submitted during the meeting or in writing in advance of the meeting topic or any other item of interest. We will have multiple public hearings this evening, and the same rules will apply for those public hearings. So, with that said, where do we stand? Okay, Matt Ruffing.
I wanted to speak on the flag rating zone, regulating zone.
Would you like to stand and speak to that?
Yeah, it's for the public hearing.
I think he's
He's gonna speak during the public hearing.
Public hearing.
So we're,
It's a general public.
Just general.
so he's the only one that signed up for that, so he's just gonna move to public hearing.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Let's put it at the bottom.
probably just move on to the
Okay.
first public hearing.
Sylvia Pardo,
No, we need to open the first public hearing.
before we start, we need to open the public hearing, and this is the public hearing for unaddressed Reagan Lane.
Hi, thank you, council, for the opportunity to speak. I live at Weaver Village Walk, which is a small residential community of 19 homes, which abut the empty lot and number 5 Reagan Lane. My concern, and I'm sure all of our people here, the same concern, is the traffic created by how the ingress and egress is going to be platted out for what kind of business on those 2 lots that are looking for commercial zoning. As it is right now, I don't have to tell you, the backup on North Main Street and Weaver Boulevard over going to 26 is often heavy duty. And also, I'm concerned about the type of business the council may consider that would create excessive noise as far as music, rowdiness, bars, open restaurants with patios. That's my consideration. So as you look at the commercial zoning, I'm hoping that you take into consideration the 19 homes that are less than 200 feet away from those properties, as well as all the residential properties on Main Street. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Robert Woodson.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Obviously, my name is Robert Woodson. My wife Marie and I have lived in the Rims Creek Golf Community for 25 years, and as you know, that's in the town of Weaverville. First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and also for the opportunity to graduate from the Citizens Academy. I've appreciated the chance to learn more about how our town operates and the work that goes into guiding Weaverville's future. My roots in this community run deep. I grew up on an old horse farm on Rims Creek Road, formerly known as Sundance Arabians. My grandmother was born where the Rims Creek Fire Station sits today. One of our family stories is that my great-grandparents were among the first families in the Rims Creek Valley to have an automobile. My grandchildren are now 7th generation Rims Creek Valley. So when I speak about Weaverville, I'm not speaking as someone who wants change for the sake of change. I'm speaking as someone whose roots are here, whose family history is here, whose family lives here and has lived here for generations. I care deeply about preserving the character, charm, and small town feel that make this community so special. At the same time, I believe we have to look carefully and realistically at Weaverville's future. As our area continues to grow, especially with the new hospital on the horizon, we need to make sure we are planning for thoughtful, appropriate commercial growth. We want our children and our grandchildren to stay here, to shop here, to work here, and to live here. We want quality businesses, professionals, doctors, service providers, local tradespeople, quality restaurants, and retail stores to have reasonable opportunities to locate in Weaverville while still protecting the character of the town and the surrounding neighborhoods. I believe with the right people, the right focus, and a shared commitment, this community, we can preserve the lifestyle, we can preserve the feeling and lifestyle that generations before helped us create while still planning responsibly for Weaverville's future. The main reason I'm speaking tonight is to support the proposed C1 rezoning request for both Reagan Lane properties. In my opinion, this is a very reasonable step in that direction. I understand that zoning decisions matter, and I respect responsibility in all you have in making that decision. My hope that this property can be considered in a way that supports reasonable commercial growth while still protecting the feel and identity of Weaverville. I respect the concerns that have been there and raised about C2, and based on what I understand, C1 appears to be a more appropriate zoning classification for this location. I love this town. I love and understand its history. I believe we can honor that history while also preparing wisely for what comes next. For those reasons, I respectfully ask Town Council to support the C1 rezoning request and vote yes to rezone the Reagan Lane properties. Thank you for your time and for your service to Weaverville.
Thank you so much. Next is Jeremy Laster.
Good evening. Thank you. Very nice words from Robert. I too echo a lot of those sentiments. As a local kid, born and raised, not on Rems Creek, but a little towards Barnardsville. I remember riding my bicycle down Weaverville Boulevard when it was just fields and one grocery store. And the times have definitely changed, and responsible growth is definitely a necessity. As much as I don't want to see things change, it does. And we have been fortunate enough in Weaverville to see positive change because we've had folks like yourselves with an eye on the future of reasonable and positive growth. And so on that note, I wanted to speak to the rezoning from R1 to potentially C1 rezoning for the Lasher property. I actually work professionally in real estate, and looking at land use is one of the focuses of my job. The subject property is, as we know, an existing commercial corridor. It's located on Weaverville Boulevard, and that is our primary commercial corridor. The property's visibility, access, patterns, and surrounding development all support commercial use. In fact, when I looked at this property, I always thought it was commercial use. So it does follow that natural suit. The adjacent property, already zoned C2, is probably the most important consideration of the parcel, is the land that directly adjoins it is already zoned for a little higher density commercial use. C1 being a more moderate zoning classification, not requesting C2 zoning, I think C1 fits the less intensive and responsible growth that we're looking for while opening up that business district, which, as we see the growth in Weaverville, is needed. I think realistically, the R1 zoning no longer reflects the reality of 2026 Weaverville. I think that the new zoning moving forward should reflect the reality that we're in, and I think the C1 zoning properly supports the growth infrastructure while maintaining a less intrusive. So on that note, as someone who has lived in Weaverville, continues to be a resident in Weaverville, I'm Robert's next door neighbor, so please don't hold that against me. I too support the reclassification of the R1 zoning for that parcel to C1. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Joe Sable.
Thank you, Council. Most of my questions have been answered by the previous people that spoke. But I have one question about Reagan Lane. What would the entrance and exit be from Reagan Lane to the property?
We're not gonna, nobody's gonna answer that question. I'm sorry, we do that to people, but.
Well, you did answer the question about egress
Right.
and ingress on Weaver Boulevard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
The
know that
the
it-
purpose of this part of the meeting is to listen to the questions and
Yeah.
everything, and not, it's not a question and answer
Where would I
session.
go for that information then?
that may get addressed a little later on. That may come up.
Sir, what I would be interested in hearing from you is what your thoughts are.
I don't really have any, but it's such a small, we walk that area to get to, I live at 76 Weaver Village Way, by the way. And we used to walk to the main street, and we walked down Regan Lane. It's just beautiful. I was just wondering what the plans were for that, whether it plays any part in this rezoning. That's all.
Thank you.
We'll see if we can help answer that.
Bill Tottenham?
Hi, I'm live 205 North Main Street, so that's like 2 blocks from the traffic light at Main and Weaver Boulevard. And so I think I'm going to be impacted pretty heavily by what happens to 5 Reagan Lane. I just think that it's appropriate to have a transitional space between commercial and residential. And if you rezone to C1, that 5 Reagan Lane space, then the next space to get rezoned would be south on Main Street, north on Main Street. I really feel like we need to have some kind of buffer between commercial and residential spaces. And as a result, I oppose the rezoning of 5 Regan Lane.
Thank you very much. Reese and Jan Lasher?
I'll get the mic. Good evening. My name's Reese Lasher, and this is my better half, Jan. We're longtime residents of Weaverville and appreciate the comments that were made earlier. We're also the owners of the land that borders Reagan Lane and also the Weaver Village and Goodwill property beside us. We are the ones asking for rezoning to C1 for our 1 acre lot. This lot's cleared, has no trees nor any housing of any type on it. It's adequately buffered with dense Leland cypress trees to the east and of course Weaver Village to the west. The Planning Committee unanimously recommended that it be approved for C1 zoning. As I stated in my application, I'm working within the town's guidelines with the intention of developing the property into either financial or medical usage in order to provide a transitional quality as you drive towards downtown Weaverville. We do understand the concern over traffic and have approached our Goodwill neighbors, including today's conversation with Mr. Bill Haymore, who's willing to work with me to provide a modification to entrances that would allow for exiting left out of the property to the stoplight rather than directly onto Weaver Boulevard. And additionally widening the right-hand turn. This design would have to be done by a landscape architect, Mr. Clay Mooney, and NCDOT would have to approve any curb cut. We do not have any intentions of directing any traffic out to Reagan Lane. That question came up earlier. We like the fact that it's passive and people use it to walk. We've owned the property for over 20 years. We've never had one residential inquiry in that time, while we've had several commercial inquiries. We believe C1 is the appropriate use for this lot and represents the highest and best use for the property. And I would appreciate your support of our rezoning request. Ditto. That's unusual.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ernie and Becky.
Ernie and Becky, and I can't make out the last name.
Lasher.
Okay. Okay, I guess I see that now.
I see it now.
My name's Ernie Lasher, and this is my wife Rebecca. And we are in support of the C1 distinction for the property. And I think it's a nice compromise to what has happened on the Weaverville Boulevard in terms of businesses. I understand people's concerns about traffic. My goodness. When we came to Weaverville, there was no Weaverville Boulevard. We actually quail hunted down that Weaverville Boulevard all the way to Clark's Chapel Road. And seeing it grow and prosper, I think the fine line is there's a big boost, as I heard earlier, to emphasize travel and tourism. Traffic is coming from our efforts of travel and tourism, a big part of it. And our population has grown. I don't know, someone in this committee may know the registered voters for the town of Weaverville, a number?
About 4,700.
4,700. I remember when it was 1,700. So, yes, we're growing, and just wanted to make sure that you understood, one, that we support the C1 distinction for the Lasher property, and that, two, my wife has something to say about.
Well, I do want to piggyback on Jennifer's remarks about our upcoming hospital and what a thrill for us here in Weaverville. And I think the idea of a medical office in that area certainly makes sense with the need for medical facilities that will augment what's happening at the hospital. The other thing I wanted to add is I'm a retired college professor, but I occasionally work for Tessa in Tessa's shop in Weaverville, and I want to say that people are thrilled when they come visit Weaverville. I worked today, we had people from all over the country, Colorado, Pennsylvania, New York, and one of the things they note is the way that we have done such a beautiful job of keeping our town, the little town that it is with our shops, and keeping the distance from the commercial area. And this will not change that. So thanks for your attention. And
Thank
your
you.
support. Thanks.
Before you close it, did you have comments?
I just want to make sure the council knows and everybody out here knows there's two public hearings because there's two applications. I think we've had a mix of discussion from the unaddressed and also from number 5. But I think I understand you have two lists.
Yes. All right, we can close.
Can I ask a interesting question? Mayor?
Well, just a second. Mr. Ruffin, would you like to make your statement now, sir?
My name is Matt Ruffing, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Ruffing family. My dad owns 5 Reagan Lane. He's sitting right here, 90 years old right now. And this application came to a head because my wife and I moved down here a couple of months before Hurricane Helene to live with my dad. We own property in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We're designing a house on the property. And we anticipate that probably by the end of 2027, the house will be done. So something's gonna happen to 5 Reagan Lane by the end of 2027. And we're trying to figure out what the best course of action is, you know, for the house. And one of the things we thought is that a healthcare facility or a financial type use would make a lot of sense for the property, particularly since, as everybody has said, the new hospital across 26 is coming in. And also there's the dentist office on the southeast corner. There's the chiropractic office on the northeast corner. I guess the northwest corner is kind of a swamp. I don't think that can be developed. So we thought it would make a lot of sense for a healthcare or a financial institution to occupy that corner. It would, you know, dovetail nicely with the other uses. So that was one of the opportunities that we saw for the property. The other one is, it's time to maybe address Reagan Lane. It's like an orphan street right now. One of our thoughts were that could possibly be demapped. It could be made part of the development site, and the developer could maybe landscape that and make that more of a pedestrian type walkway. Something better than what we have right now. And this is an opportunity to do it. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Other things are that the rezoning to C, well, the other thing is C1, you're gonna get a bigger bang for the buck if it's a 2-acre parcel, if you're gonna put healthcare there. 1 acre, and this is coming from developers, you'll get, you know, some interest from developers on a 1 acre healthcare facility, but 2 acres, you're gonna get more opportunity, you're gonna get more people interested in developing the site. It's just bigger, it's gonna get their attention. 1 acre, you might struggle a little bit, and that's coming from developers. And lastly, a C1 zoning just really creates options for the Ruffing family. When 2027 rolls around, my dad and my wife and I and other family members will sort of look at what we want to do with the property. There's a big case to be made that maybe it stays residential, mainly from a financial viewpoint, rather than a commercial property. So if this would be zoned C1, doesn't mean we're gonna jump at it. We'd have to evaluate it as a family to see what direction we want to take. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Do you want to comment now or let him close this one?
Yeah, I mean, he spoke to the second one. My only comment was we probably should have rearranged the agenda, so we're gonna have 2 public hearings back to back, and then we're gonna discuss them back to back. What we should have done was discussed unaddressed Reagan Lane in a public hearing, then discussed it, then had the public hearing, because our brains are gonna get completely mixed up. So we had 2 separate discussions and 2 separate public hearings that were kind of going back to back to back to back. And
I think so. I would just suggest if you've been through both lists, which were both the lists for the public hearings, I would close the first public hearing, open the second, ask if there's any further comment, then close that public hearing. That way we have both public hearings under the belt.
So we're gonna close the first public hearing now. And now we're gonna open the second public hearing.
Can we incorporate Mr. Ruffing's statement into the new public hearing?
So you don't have
For-
to
just
speak
for the
again.
record. So he doesn't have to re-speak? Sure. Okay.
Can you handle that?
And then we need the list for the second public hearing
Good,
for the people that.
good idea, Peter.
Mr. Eller, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, does Mr. Eller have something he's wanting to say to council?
Yeah, he's kind of waiting because he's on the list.
So we're still in the public hearing for unaddressed Reagan Lane, correct?
Currently, yes.
Correct.
Yeah, was he closed out or what?
No.
He just opened it.
So we have these folks that need to speak. And
Pardon me, but I think we're on general public comment.
No, there was nobody signed up for that. That's where we started with the public comment.
There was just one gentleman listed that he wanted to speak to
yeah,
this.
so that's over. Public hearing one's over, and now we're on the second one.
So we need to do
When
that.
did public hearing get up?
That was public hearing one on unaddressed Reagan Lane. Because they're similar, we goofed procedurally, and Mr. Ruffin just spoke about 5 Reagan Lane. So what we need to do is open the public hearing for 5 Reagan Lane and see if there's anybody who wants to speak other than Mr. Ruffin who just spoke.
Yes, we have a list here.
Yeah, we have a list here for 5 Reagan Lane for the public hearing. Amy Green.
I think James has something to say.
But it's the public hearing, so we're going to discuss that. I just wanted to take care of it.
All right, y'all ready for me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't grow up here. My children did. I've lived here for 21 years. I live at 128 North Main Street, and I see 5 Reagan Lane from my bedroom and my dining room. I believe that if that property were to be developed commercially, it would inhibit my enjoyment of my personal property. I also believe that it would reduce my property value. But that's not what I want to talk to you about tonight. I want to ask you some questions. I'm wondering what business we need so much in Weaverville that you're ready to abandon the land use plan that was just approved in March. Just approved in March. Those 2 lots were not conditional zoning. Those 2 lots were not designated as potential growth zones. Those 2 lots were shown to be R1 in your plan that you spent a lot of money, a lot of time for residents to respond to your surveys, to come to your hearings, and for you all to spend a lot of time thinking about it. I heard the proposition of some medical offices or perhaps a bank. The rumor has always been that that corner is wanted by a pharmacy. We certainly do not need another pharmacy in Weaverville. We have 5 that I can walk to myself. I cannot think of a business that downtown Weaverville needs. I cannot think of a business that would make it worth making the character of our town change on that corner. I cannot think of a business that could not go into an already vacant, already zoned commercial space in Weaverville within walking distance of that corner. I and my children have enjoyed the downtown feel of our town for 21 years. I hope that we can keep it that way. I completely respect that the property owners have the right and the interest to change the zoning to commercial. I noticed that your zoning board recommended that you not change the zoning for Reagan Lane, 5 Reagan Lane, that you go ahead and change the zoning for the other. They also recommended a conditional zoning. I would like to ask that you not consider that at all. Please keep it residential. I ask you respectfully to vote no on both of these parcels. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 lists here, and some of the names might be repetitive, so if I've called your name and you've already had a chance to speak, it's because we have 2 lists. Sylvia Pardo, you've already spoken, thank you. The Ruffing family, I believe you've already spoken. Julie Ann Daggerhart.
It looks funny. Good evening, community and council members. My name is Julie Ann Daggerhart. I am Amy's neighbor. I have lived on Main Street in the block between Weaver Boulevard and Hamburg Mountain Road for over 2 decades. So anybody familiar with Weaverville history knows that this is probably not my first zoning conversation we've had, because we have gone through this little roundabout before. And as the council considers the proposed rezoning of the unaddressed and 5 Reagan Lane, I know they're 2 different properties, but I'm just gonna put them in one for right now. I would ask for a clear no. With the building of the Advent Hospital project, I know you all understand that Weaverville is poised for significant population growth in the coming years. And because we do not yet know how that population growth and accompanying traffic will impact our community, I would ask that we hold off on allowing continued commercial development into our residential areas. My location gives me a unique insight on the traffic patterns. I always tell people, if you've ever sat at the Hamburg Mountain light, you sat in front of my house. And I can tell you it has changed significantly in the 2+ decades. Getting out to make a left is a fun little game now. So for as long as I've lived on Main Street, I have heard from council members of the town's commitment to preserve the residential aspect of our block and of the town of Weaverville, and allowing this corner to be rezoned when we already have several vacant commercial properties within a mile of the site in question erodes the town's commitment to the residents on our block. I think the question that I would have is the intention of the town to make that entire block between Weaver Boulevard and Hamburg Mountain Road entirely commercial or conditional zoning? And if it is, then that's a different conversation, and I would be here in front of you speaking differently. And if it's not, I think certainly you can understand how the maybe 7 houses that live in that area might have some frustration over the commercial development creeping along Weaver Boulevard into our residential area. I would encourage Mr. Lasher to choose health of community over indulgence, community over expediency, sustainability and green space over more asphalt by donating his unaddressed parcel or selling it to the town at tax value in honor of all the ways that Weaverville has allowed him to prosper. In November, I championed and voted for several of you currently sitting in front of me because I believe that you shared in my value and commitment to preserve our downtown homes, and that you would be a voice for the residents most closely impacted by the commercial and conditional zoning development. So I urge you to use that voice now and vote no on the proposed rezoning of these 2 properties. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Joe Subel. And I think Jill Totten has already spoken. All right. You're on 2 sheets, so you get 2 bites of the apple.
So I was confused also, and so my previous comment was regarding 5 Reagan Lane, but I feel very differently about unaddressed Reagan Lane. I think that I agree with the planning board in that it would be an appropriate, being right next to Goodwill, it would be an appropriate location for C1 rezoning. But I spent a lot of time on the town's website today looking to see what uses were and were not allowed on C1 zoning. And I had, after a couple, 2-3 hours, I didn't find anything. So I will be very interested in following the planning board's next steps, if this is rezoned or if they're gonna look at this again. Because just because you say it would be appropriate for a financial or medical facility, doesn't mean that a developer isn't gonna come in there and put up a 24-hour gas station. I mean, there's just no guarantee. Unless C1 is addressed as far as what is and is not allowed on that property. You know, like a doctor's office would be fine. Another fast food place with a drive-through, not so much. And so I think if you want to look at transitions from commercial to residential, that property is a great property for transition, making that transition. But there's no telling here or now, or even in further planning board meetings, or certainly the property owners, who is gonna buy that and what they're gonna develop there. So I think it would, I mean, I feel like there's an onus on me to keep up with this situation so that I can have some say in, you know, no, I don't want a gas station in there. Chiropractor? Yeah, okay, you know, and I think that's your job as council people to keep up with that too. And, you know, we have a really fine planning board and, you know, I trust them to move forward and do the right thing. And so I do approve of the rezoning with lots of caveats of the unaddressed Reagan Lane.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And acknowledge that we got comments on that.
We have received comments online and they've been reported, and everybody, I've gotten copies of it at home, and so everybody on council should have copies of it as well. That said, we're going to close public hearing number 2 and move forward. This is, we're going to turn over to Mr. Eller at this point.
Finally gets his chance.
Yep.
We have an introduction prepared for both of these properties for the public hearing, but with both of those already concluded, I'll save that portion of the speech. However, I would like to go back in time and suggest several things for the record. Tonight's public hearing was duly advertised. Affidavits to that effect can be produced upon request. A lot of talk about planning board recommendation, just so we're all clear and pointed in the same direction. For the unaddressed parcel on Reagan Lane, which is also the unoccupied parcel on Reagan Lane, did receive a favorable recommendation from the planning board to transition from R1 to C1 zoning. For the parcel at 5 Reagan Lane, which is occupied by the single-family home that Mr. Ruffing was describing, it received a negative recommendation from the planning board to transition directly to C1 zoning. They preferred to go the conditional zoning route. So public hearing has been advertised, and a recommendation from the planning board has been received on both of these properties. I guess at this point, I would like clarification if we're still in the public hearing phase or if we're on to action items.
We've closed the public hearing.
Understood. You've got a staff report in your packet of information. One of the things that I would like to address is in relation to a comment that was made for the comprehensive land use plan. On the last page of that staff report, you'll find a future land use map that suggests that the unaddressed parcel is sort of slated for future commercial use, and the parcel at 5 Reagan Lane is slated for downtown. If you look at the zoning map,
It's page 66.
It is true that both of these parcels are zoned residentially, but at least on the future land use map, which is advisory in nature, at least contemplates the possibility of these properties being used for purposes other than their current residential zoning. At this time, I'm happy to address any questions that you have or may have arisen during the public comment period. There was something, if I remember correctly, a comment related to access off of Reagan Lane. This is speculation on my part, but hopefully it's not reckless. I don't think it's reasonable for Reagan Lane to handle commercial traffic. What is much more likely to occur is that these properties will go to NCDOT and apply for a driveway connection permit that will allow them to access the properties off the boulevard.
Who owns Reagan Lane?
It depends on when
I
and
know
where
the
we
answer.
are on
I'm
the
trying to get him to answer it. Yeah, go ahead.
So the portion of Reagan Lane that accesses these properties is owned and maintained by the town.
Okay.
As we transition to the Weaver Village property, there is a portion of Reagan Lane that was put on the map in the early 1900s, but never actually opened or constructed. That portion of Reagan Lane was abandoned during the entitlement process for Weaver Village. As we make what used to be the bend and travel northward up toward Moore Street, there is an unopened portion of a public right-of-way, what a lot of people call ghost roads. Who owns that? Most likely the town. That road was never constructed. It's simply lines on the map that have been there for probably at this point over 100 years.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Eller, I just want to clarify that the property that Mr. Ruffing referred to with the chiropractic office and the dental office there across the street from 5 Reagan Lane, across Main Street there, is still zoned R1. Although those two businesses are there, it is still zoned R1. And if those businesses are vacated, it reverts back to R1, is that correct?
If they're vacated for a certain period of time, that is correct.
Yep.
And if I can expand upon your comments just
Yes,
a moment, please. The reason for that discrepancy between the use of the property and the zoning of the property, both of those facilities were constructed prior to 1978, which is when the town adopted its first zoning ordinance. If we wanted to do that today, those properties would need to be zoned commercially.
There was a question asked numerous times, and I don't expect you to have it in your head, but point us in the right direction. So we all know, once we say C1, then doesn't matter what the landowner says he wants to do, it's C1. And so give us examples of what can be put in C1.
Most of what we have on Main Street, as well as those two parcels at the intersection of North Main and Williams, those uses would be supported by the C1 zoning district. One of the big things that I know the planning board had on their mind was a drive-through restaurant. There was at least one comment made related to that tonight. C1 zoning would not accommodate a drive-through restaurant.
How about a gas station?
A gas station, it would.
It would?
Yes.
How about a bar?
Yes.
How about a restaurant?
Without a drive-through, yes.
Lawyer's office?
Correct. Professional services, if I remember correctly, and that's in the long list of things that would be considered under that use.
So it appears that it might be wise to have a conditional zoning on the unidentified piece of property or the unnamed piece of property, and let them bring a conditional zoning to the planning board saying we want to put a bank or a doctor's office or whatever there, and that would be a conditional zoning that would allow them to commercially develop that for that purpose. Is that correct? I mean, if it was a conditional, and they said we want to put a financial institution here.
That is certainly an event that could occur. I would hesitate to offer comment on whether or not that was wise or reasonable.
So if that's the intent of the seller, that that's what they want to use that for, then he could go back and make an application for a conditional zoning for that property to be used for that purpose.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
So, but if we just use a C1, then yes, a gas station could be built on that property.
And that reminds me to circle back and make sure that this is included in my comments as well. When considering a zoning map amendment, combination of the planning board and town council must consider all uses permitted in the zoning district.
Right.
If it is currently permitted in the C1 zoning district,
be any of
it largely, if not entirely, won't be seen by the planning board or town council again.
Correct.
Who owns Weaver Boulevard?
NCDOT.
I know the answer. I want him to answer it. Graham got it this time. Graham didn't say anything. They're rhetorical questions for the group. Can we tell the DOT what to do with Weaver Boulevard? James?
No.
Okay. Can the landowner tell the DOT what to do with Weaver Boulevard?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, guys.
Those same statements would hold true for North Main Street as well.
Correct. And that's a state-owned road as well.
DOT.
And if we went down the conditional zoning route, that would require the landowner to produce a site plan development proposal first.
That is correct. One of the difficulties, let me rephrase that, one of the variables that the planning board considered very heavily was this possibility of a conditional district. As I understand it, my conversation with the property owners who are both with us tonight, and can correct me if I'm wrong, they don't have a buyer in mind. They don't know if they're even going to sell. And if we don't have a buyer in mind and a project in mind, it's going to be remarkably difficult to create a ordinance that governs the property as well as a site-specific development plan. On the back end of those conditional district requests, you can only do that. If we do anything other than that, we're likely having to go back through that conditional district process again.
I'd love to see the property donated to the town or sold to the town at tax value. We could use another infill pocket park or something.
Where are you gonna park?
Ingalls and Walk.
So here's my concern, and I told Mr. Lasher this as well, but I'll say it out loud. To get into Goodwill right now, which is where the proposed access point would be, that's a right turn in, right turn out. Not a left turn in, not a left turn out. So DOT hasn't opined at all about how they can fix that or change that. So if we have a right turn in, right turn out, can we ask at least for some type of landscape architect's plan of how they would handle the ingress and egress in order to consider that for conditional zoning?
Can we? Yes. Whether or not that's enforceable through our friends at the state, I don't know. If we were to go the conditional route and that were one of the conditions baked into the conditional district, then I'm a little more comfortable answering that question. But there also exists a scenario where we write this down on a piece of paper and then DOT says, thanks, but we're not gonna do that.
Yeah, let me ask you a follow-up question, I'm sorry, Jennifer, but, the little bump that creates that right turn in, right turn out, that belongs to DOT, right? Or is that something that?
It is likely within DOT right-of-way because the sidewalk also passes through.
So that's their call, that they don't want to allow left turns in and out of that access point.
It's my understanding that they gratefully prefer that those left turns occur at the red light between Aldi and the auto parts store.
Yeah, but who put the driveway in? Who approved the driveway into Goodwill?
That would have been in CDOT.
The DOT.
Yep.
Yeah. But they only approved the driveway as right turn in, right?
Yeah, I understand that, but they approved,
There has to be
they
a
approved.
reason.
Yeah, well,
Maybe.
have you sat in DOT when they speak?
I get your.
Northridge Farms,
Picking up on your
Walmart,
sarcasm.
Lowe's, that, they approved that,
That's a private road down below.
but they had to approve it, the access, and it is a private road for now.
So related to to that right turn in, right turn out, is there any limitation to the fact that the Goodwill is a conditional zoning district to allow additional access onto that? So like the idea was that the access for the unaffiliated Reagan parcel would access through the conditional district. Is there anything that would prohibit that from actually occurring?
It's my belief and understanding that one of the conditions for that conditional district, which governs Weaver Village, is a non-development easement around the perimeter of the property. It is directly stated in that language that the reason for that was to prohibit Weaver Village from ever growing out onto neighboring parcels and or back into the residential areas. I would be curious to get a legal opinion on that, but if asked to give that language a assessment at face value, it may be a situation where we would need to re-explore that conditional district for Weaver Village.
But it is, it's difficult for DOT to make a decision about a road going into a piece of property when they don't know the use of that piece of property.
They're in a similar position that we are with a conditional district. I'll just use capacity of a room. Is that standing? Is it seated? How many people are attracted to a certain use? DOT won't be able to make that assessment unless they know very specifically what's going on the property.
Correct. Thank you.
So what we have on the table is the landowner's asking for C1.
That is correct.
Straight, they're not asking for conditional zoning. And so, and I too spoke with Mr. Lasher. So that's what's on the table is C1. We're talking about conditional zoning. He hasn't asked for conditional zoning. If and when we say yes on C1, then we have no say in what he and the DOT work out as far as access to Weaver Boulevard. We have no say in if it's gonna be a 24-hour nightclub and, you know, or if it's gonna be a gas station. So that's what's on the table. And the previous councils have made mistakes, specifically Palisades apartment, where we said yes, without working through it. And I regret my votes on that, where we should have said no and then opened the dialogue for conditional zoning. So I see this as, I don't think the landowner has 4 yes votes to go straight C1 and give up any control just by the nods of the head earlier. I'm in favor of it being commercial with rules, and how we get there, I don't know. I sat in a meeting with Northwood Farms and found out, they said they were gonna put a greenway in, but nobody mentioned we had to have insurance on it, and we had to get a right of way, so we didn't do our homework. We all said, yay, they're gonna put a greenway in. What are they gonna give us, Mark?
Sidewalk.
How wide?
5 feet.
What do we want?
Minimum 10 feet.
Right, and they can't do that now because,
Impervious surface.
yeah, right, to the stormwater plan, they've already put millions of dollars in. Oops, so we thought we were getting a greenway that we enjoyed, and now we're not, maybe. That's another topic for another day. That's my point, is this council should learn from previous council's mistakes. So I'm in favor of being commercial. I am not in favor of giving up the negotiation of, and I believe Mr. Lasher, but I also know he could sell it tonight, and he's not the developer then, and that's happened to us before with Travis Fowler. So that's where I stand on it.
So it seems like, Mr. Nagel, that a conditional zoning on that property for a specific thing would be more appropriate to get the right kind of business and the right kind of entry and things of that nature. Instead of just a blanket C1, if they came with a conditional zoning, then we would have a more understanding of what that would be, what it would look like, what the road would need to be like to approach DOT about ingress and egress from that property. Am I understanding correctly?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Agree with you, Jennifer, and let me tag on something that Mr. Lasher actually did tell me. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I thought that was a really interesting point. He said that he was interested in a bank or medical office because it was 9 to 5 Monday through Friday.
Yes.
And this wasn't going to contribute traffic on the weekends or at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was an important point, but it would require a conditional zoning in order to get us there, so that if he sold it to a bank, and they built a bank, and then 5 years later, the bank decided to sell it to a gas station, they could do that. So, I am, I think, aligned with what Jennifer and Andrew are saying.
Any other comments? Okay. Mr. Eller, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Unless anyone has any additional questions for me.
I don't see any. Let's move forward. Mr. Harris, you have some updates from the legislature?
No.
You gotta
We got it.
address the 2 matters.
Yeah.
First unaddressed and then number 5.
Okay.
So I think we should make a motion to vote on C1 for unaddressed. Can we do that tonight, so we don't lead the landowner on? Or do we need to wait another 30 days?
I would defer to Mr. Eller on that one.
It is my understanding that action is eligible at the conclusion of the public hearings, both of which were held earlier this evening.
Which have concluded.
Yep.
Okay, so I make a motion that we say no to the unaddressed C1. And that motion's on the floor.
Wait. Your motion to say no. So
Well, not the motion, we're right, to accept the C1. I'm making a motion and voting in one word. Thank you, Mr. Lawyer. Thank you, Mr. Lawyer.
Yes.
Very clear.
No.
So this is for
Unaddressed Reagan Lane.
unaddressed Reagan Lane.
His application for C1. Well, we got to vote on it, so the motion would have been to say which way. Yeah, I'll make a motion to deny, that it's a positive, negative.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter.
I'm confused, but all in favor?
Well, hang on, let's not, nobody should be confused. I'm making I'm making a motion.
Okay.
on unaddressed Reagan Lane's request for C1 zoning, to deny it. That's my motion. So if you like my motion, one would say yes, correct? If you disagree with me, say no.
All in favor of deny, say aye.
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 All opposed? Ayes have it.
All right. And we should get with the landowner and start talking conditional zoning.
Yes.
And then you gotta have a vote on number 5.
Well, we haven't even talked about
I would just
5.
take that to the planning board.
All right, now we're going to talk about
Number 5.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to talk about 5 Reagan Lane.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Hill.
Where's that?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
What you got on 5?
5 Reagan Lane.
Roughly the same conversation. I'll go back and hit upon this again, which is the difference between the recommendations that you've received from the planning board for C1 zoning on 5 Reagan Lane. The planning board has offered a negative recommendation, and similar to your previous conversation about unaddressed, would prefer this property go the conditional zoning route.
I hear a motion to that end. The lawyers at the table, can you help us wordsmith this motion?
I can do it again. I move that the zoning map amendment request for 5 Reagan Lane, bearing pin 9742299584 be denied, which means it stays residential.
Okay, all in
So
favor?
what I want to say about that is I think it's important that we keep a buffer between the residential status on Main Street and the commercial status on the boulevard. And I think by maintaining that R1 zoning on that corner of 5 Reagan Lane will allow us to maintain that buffer for the residents that live on Main Street.
So the motion is to deny?
Correct.
Yep.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
one quick comment. I would offer the services to the property owners from the Weaverville Economic Development Advisory Group to actually research appropriate uses for the property that they can consider and then present to council.
Nice offer. I hope they take you up on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 5 banks on Weaver Boulevard already.
Okay. So,
Legislative updates.
all right, Mr. Harris.
Mayor, Council, some legislative updates for you. As we know, the Senate Bill 889, which we've talked about multiple times during the budget process, which deals with the reappraisal values and what you can use and trying to govern that. The governor did sign off on that last week, making that into law. So that has gone for him. What we were hoping is that they would end up being a veto on it as well. So what we're looking at now is Senate Bill 474. Senate Bill 474 is will exempt Buncombe County from that legislation on that. And the latest on that is until late this afternoon, the last movement on Bill 474 was on the 17th. However, late this afternoon, checking it around 4 o'clock, it did move over to the Senate and has been placed on the calendar for a vote tomorrow on 6/23 for that. And again, that Bill 474 would exempt Buncombe County from that 889 that the governor signed off on, making it law for our, as we talked about through the budget process, on which rate, what the tax rate would have to be versus what property values would be using from the reval. We had a meeting Monday last week with the county manager and other town managers in the county to discuss that and what it looks like on the county end, that they do have to drop back to the previous reval years. One of the comments and concerns on that as well would be that Buncombe County had already delayed by 1 year on the reval because it was scheduled. Then when the hurricane hit, they actually pushed it back a year as well. So that was some of some discussion by legislators and the lobbyists there, which was reiterating that fact that Buncombe County had already delayed by 1 year in that process, and under statute, could not delay anymore. So we're looking at that again on 474, hopefully with a vote coming up tomorrow on that, that Buncombe County would be excluded on that.
Before you move to the next one, and I don't understand Buncombe County, I don't understand the governor, I don't understand the legislatures, because it's as stupid as it can be. It doesn't matter. We already been over this, and they need to come to our meetings. You need your money, so your rate, what's the rate right now? Tamara, what's the rate right now with the proposed $1.8 billion of taxable? 32 cents?
34?
32.
Yeah, 32 cent was what was.
Right, so if they say you can't use the 1.8 billion and you gotta use the 1.3 billion, what's the rate gonna be?
45, I believe it was.
Does it really matter? No, right?
Correct.
I mean, I'm a C student, and I get this. So it's a game. I get so mad, it's so stupid. So the legislatures, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, or the governor, don't have a clue what they're doing, because it doesn't matter. We already told you you're gonna get your 10 million for the general fund and your 10 million for the water fund, right?
Correct.
So who cares if it's 32 or 75 cents? I'm writing the check for the same amount. I'm not, because mine won't go up, but it's as dumb as it can be. So you're ready to go either way, right?
Correct, yes, sir.
Yeah, you don't care what I mean, you may care, you shouldn't care what they do. It's gonna be 32 cents, or it's gonna be what?
45.
Okay, I'd rather be 45, because it sounds worse. You know, because they raised our property tax. What did it go up, 45% for the town? Why? Because Buncombe County needed the money. You got the guy doing the appraisal who needs the money. You talk about a sham, right? That's like in a divorce, you're gonna let your ex-wife get her best friend to appraise your property in the divorce. We don't have an independent person appraising the property. It's the most moronic thing in the world. Buncombe County should not be appraising Buncombe County properties that they want more money from. So, thank you for the update. Not your part of it. It just doesn't matter what the governor and the state do. You're gonna get what we approved on.
And I have a quick question. So if we're exempt, then we don't have to change anything, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We won't have to bring it back before council to do an amendment on the budget or anything. If that bill signs off and gets passed tomorrow, then we proceed, and, you know, it's unfortunate. I mean, the state's passing this law and trying to give you 10 days to readopt your budget or change it when the state hasn't adopted a budget in the past 2 years.
Yep.
Even if 474 passes, though, I mean, it's likely the governor would veto it, because he did not veto the one that, the moratorium. He was actually championing it a little bit, saying like it was gonna be Helene relief for everybody, which doesn't really make sense, because
It's not gonna change it.
yeah, it doesn't change anything. So I would doubt that even if 474 passes, that he would then go along with that. He'll just strike it down. That's my
Right, and then he's got a plan.
Yeah.
Any other questions on Bill 474 or 889? All right. On Senate Bill 811, which is relief from satellite annexation, that's the one we talked about earlier, which Senator Mayfield's been very supportive of and pushing it through, which will provide the town of Weaverville and others relief from the 10% cap on satellite annexation. That is set for a vote on 6/23. So again, on the 23rd, it should go for a vote tomorrow. And Senator Mayfield's been great about keeping us in the loop and updated on that. So again, hopefully I have you some information that we can push out later tomorrow on that. In the past and in recent years with council, there's been some discussion to move the elections to even years due to increasing cost of holding an election on odd years. And several jurisdictions are currently seeking legislative approval for chapter amendments to move to even year elections, which was an example of House Bill 1117. If council would like to shift to even year elections, a resolution indicating that would be your next step to move towards getting our representatives working on that for the next available session. So again, so some discussion tonight if you would like for us to pursue that and bring you a resolution to adopt to move to even years on your elections.
Hell no. Sorry.
So 90 to 95% of all towns and cities in North Carolina do odd-year municipal voting. So if we switch this, we would be joining a very small minority. Number two, I wanted to point out, shutting down the community center for a municipal election is just inappropriate to me. When I went to vote at the community center, it was empty. I was the only person there. So I think we should move the election here or get a FEMA trailer out front or wherever we can hold the election without shutting down the community center.
That's your Buncombe County Board of Elections telling us what to do, which they obviously didn't tell us about moving the fireworks. So yeah, I'm in agreement. When Selena first said that, she tried to have it in, you could have 2 rooms, but yes, we need to work with Buncombe County Board of Elections to have it in the library. They own the library, so we need to push that for them. I'm in agreement with that.
And my third point is moving the election to a partisan election year taints the focus of our municipal election in Weaverville. All of us basically enjoy the citizen participation in the election and the focus on what the town needs, not what's going on in Washington. So anyway, I'm not supportive of this move.
I agree with Phil that, we have things that are unique to our town that has nothing to do with really partisan politics. We are here to fix potholes and make a budget and run the town, and it has nothing to do with Washington and all the goings on with political parties. And, this issue has come up to previous councils multiple times, and multiple times the previous councils have said, no, it's important to the town of Weaverville to have a voice about the town of Weaverville and not be muddled by partisan politics.
You have to be aware of the Board of Elections in Asheville. Because
I understand.
They make the rules, so.
But I'm against it.
Phil, we have you down for WEDAC, but I think you addressed WEDAC fairly well at the beginning.
I tried to give you some time back, but I may have taken more than.
We're going to talk about that later.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Chief Summer, if you don't mind.
Good evening.
Good
I
evening.
cleared the room again, did you see that? So I was coming, they all ran, I'm not sure. I wanted to have a conversation with you about the firing range. I know that since you have joined council, most of you have received emails and questions about it. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to do a little educational process. I did bring Detective Sergeant Brandon Paris, who is the range master and firearms instructor. So when you ask really hard questions, I'll defer to him because he's the firearms guy. And he did a great job helping me make this presentation. So for those of you who didn't know, this site was originally a landfill. It was registered with the NC Department of Environmental Quality, and we're not sure the date that it closed. We began using it as a firing range around 1964. At one time, it was open to the public, but they closed that to outside use due to the public's intentional damage of the resources there. It was used by the National Guard in the 1980s, and usage artifacts were found during our lead mining. And it was also used by the Sheriff's Office at one point. There is some legal liability and mandate for training, as you'll see there. There are 3 cases there. We put those in for the attorney on there. Mr. McGuire. Yeah,
Excellent citations.
Thank you very much. All of those cases found that the municipalities were financially responsible for the shortcomings of their officers' training to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars back in the 70s and 80s. They mentioned some terms that I did research on, things like deliberate indifference or making a conscious choice to deny their officers training. Lawsuits were brought against the town under civil rights laws that allow individuals to sue local government. That's the section 1983 there. Originally, all those cases were won. One was later overturned. As far as state standards and what Weaverville does, we have always been a step ahead and tried to be exceptional. So the current state standards, as you can see, we have we're mandated to have a 4-hour minimum of training. We try to get up to 27 hours. We have always had, since I started here, an 80% pass or fail rate. They just changed that to the state standard in 2026. The decision-making course complexity, so that is an effort to get officers to stop doing exactly what they've been trained on a million times and actually have to think their way through processes. So as an example, there's a 2 shots in 2 seconds where you draw and shoot twice at center mass in 2 seconds and then reholster. And what they learned is that if that's the only thing you've ever done, then when officers were in critical incidents, guess what happened? They'd draw, they'd shoot 2 shots and they'd put it back, whether there was still a threat or not. So they started adding decision-making in with moving targets and things that fall or don't fall, things that move at you, things that may or may not be a threat. And we do those out at the course. So they have a 3-stage state minimum and we have 5-stage. We'll talk briefly about the physiology of stress. I saw some nodding there from some of our folks that shoot. Maintaining the skill requires frequency. Improving it requires more time. So we can't just get good at it and then never go back and do it again. It is a perishable skill. Stress inoculation, that is back to those skill drills where we're having to create some scenarios and drills that will elevate our stress so that we can perform better under stress. We have the ability to do low light operations out there when we're allowed to work when it gets darker. 70% of officer-involved shootings occur in low light conditions, and as you probably remember, our one Weaverville instance did occur in a low light condition. State mandated qualifications require the officers do perform in low light qualifications no earlier than 30 minutes after sunset. So when we get comments about it being dark, we actually have to wait for it to get dark. It is required by the state. They're included not just as a qualification, but in the decision-making course of fire. So when we set up that course that is where we're deciding shoot or no shoot, that also has to be done in the dark. It can be time consuming, and another thing that we have to take into account is if there's a fail, reshoots must be required and completed on the same date per administrative code. So if you don't make it, you have to try again. You can't just call it a night and go home and get rest and come back. As far as the site infrastructure goes, there is an observation tower there, a multi-purpose shelter, so we use it to clean weapons, have outdoor classes. There's the berm or backstop that was constructed to meet NRA standards. We have a rifle platform at 100 yards. That is important practice for us. We just watched a recent shooter where the officer engaged him at 90, a little over 90 yards, unfortunately, at a mall. We have a serviceable firing line and secure equipment storage out there. And you can see all of those in the pictures, which Brandon did an amazing job taking with the drone and fun things like that. Some recent upgrades: the shelter replaced a small shed with a gravel floor that also had multiple bullet holes in the roof, but not from us, that's from the citizens afterward. The 100-yard platform was replaced. It was originally just a dirt pile that the officers laid on. I hear stories about them getting fire ants in their pants and stuff while they were laying in the dirt pile. I guess that's the stress inoculation part.
Hey, it's a real world situation.
Yeah. The perimeter fence was installed to ensure safety and a backdrop. We've done lead mining that has produced over 9,000 pounds of lead from the berm and also repaired and brought it up to current safety standards. The equipment storage shed has now prolonged the life of some of our large equipment out there. Last year, we replaced the 100-yard platform and added a roof to it to help us make it last longer. And trees were added with the help of other agencies. APD sent their SWAT team out for the day, and we'll touch on those trees in a minute. We planted 180 trees around the perimeter. I believe actually that it was Mr. Endries that came out one day and said, wisely, thank you for the urging. Is there something we could do to be a better neighbor? I was like, neighbor to the interstate? You know, I hadn't really thought about it, but things are encroaching on us. So we did plant over 180 trees around the perimeter in a double row. They are green giants. They're slated to grow 3 to 4 feet a year. They'll get up to 50 to 60 feet tall and 12 to 20 feet wide. So we're hoping, because we've noticed that a lot of the complaints are coming from places behind us and things, the sound is traveling very strangely, that with enclosing that all in trees, that it may help reduce some of that echo effect that some of the neighbors are talking about. We have restricted operational hours, so we don't allow for shooting on Sundays, no live fire. We tried very hard to get to 10. I'd noticed that one went to 10:15-ish one time. The range operations are protected through the NC Sport Shooting Range Protection Act, which says that it cannot be deemed a nuisance on the basis of noise. It says that ranges are grandfathered in as far as zoning changes go, if you changed the zoning in that area. We have been good stewards of the property that was once a dump. And we have a lead management program that adheres to the EPA best management practices that have been put into place with a lead reclamation schedule, soil testing, and berm inspections. And I also found some interesting data that says outdoor ranges are generally considered much safer for the shooters regarding airborne lead exposure.
Chief, how do you get the lead out of the soil?
When I get done, I'll have the expert come up and he can tell you all about it, because he's got pictures and whatnot that are pretty interesting. You want to wait? I've only got a couple more, and then he can come up and he can blast us both with questions.
Yeah, magnets don't work.
Yeah. It looked pretty intense, actually, based on the pictures. Other uses of the facilities, so we have narcotics destruction out there. We have a portable incinerator that we take out, so as a service to the community, we do take in medicine that people are trying to dispose of, and then our evidence technician incinerates it out there. We have large evidence storage. As you may remember, we were in a situation where we didn't know what to do with a car that was evidence because we don't have anywhere to put it. So we have changed that and made it so that we can put things like cars and bicycles and whatnot, large evidence out there. And we also use that for equipment storage. The barricade trailers, the signboards, the camera trailers, vehicles often get moved out there to be off-site here when we need the space. There have been questions about range alternatives, and we've explored those. The AB Tech range is booked a year in advance. So we did just get a call from an agency who hired their assistant chief and can't get them qualified unless we let them use the range. and they would have to wait the better part of a year for that person to be a law enforcement officer in their agency. There's no reliable short-term scheduling. You have to hope that somebody cancels out on their one-year reservation. So if you have an officer that needs extra remediation, there's no hope of helping them get any extra practice or time. And due to those advanced scheduling requirements, onboarding officers for us would also be impossible. There's no other facilities in Buncombe County that meet the requirements. The next closest is in Madison. The scheduling is also difficult with them. There's some increased labor costs that the police department would incur due to things like travel time. We would still need to find a place to keep all of the equipment that we would have to take with us, because we would not be allowed to store it at Madison County to use if we needed to use their range. And building, we've been asked, why don't we build our own indoor facility? So there was a 12,000 square foot facility, which was a clone of the AV Tech site. It was $3.5 million in 2016. So a slightly larger site to accommodate growth and be a little more future-proof starts at about 15 million, would easily exceed about 20 million, and that's if we broke ground today. I wanted to talk a little bit too about the cooperation with other law enforcement communities. We have allowed partner agencies to come use the range, and we're really grateful for that. We have community partners like AV Tech's BLET, Asheville Police Department, Biltmore Forest, the U.S. Marshal Service, ATF have all come out to use the range, and this has really established and strengthened our agency relationships. And you may have noticed that we have been thanking them for their resources in our press releases as well. But some of the resources that we don't have that we have used of theirs are crime scene processing for major incidents, bomb squad, SWAT. They allow us their technical expertise. We have train the trainer classes. This week, the bike team guy came out and got us certified on our new e-bike so that we could use the e-bike for 4th of July. The K9 units and their PIO has even helped us with some recent press releases and news when we collectively had calls. So this is a great way to pool some of the resources that we have for our law enforcement community. That's what I've got. We already know that Mr. Barnett has a question specifically for Detective Sergeant Paris.
To go back to your original question there, as far as the lead mining goes, that does require a contractor to come in and do that. They use what they call a screed that's similar to like what you see down at the mulch yard as you're going into Asheville. It's similar to that, so they actually put the dirt in that. They dig it out from the berm, run it through that. That takes some of the larger portions of the lead out. Then that dirt, I'm trying to think of the word they use, the fines, I believe is what it is. Then they run it through a second time. They change out the filters on the screed and run it through, and it's like a giant, for lack of a better term, it's like a giant clothes dryer. Just runs it through. So it's an impressive operation. It took, if I'm not mistaken, took them a couple of weeks to get it done. Of course, then this was also during COVID going on, so, yeah.
Question for you, Chief. What year did you say this was started, built?
64.
Hey, James, when was Kai Fields built? Before or after 1964?
It was
After. Right, so everybody who buys a house, builds a neighborhood, most of them have come in after this has been there. That's safe to assume?
Yes, sir.
So then you got people complaining, but yeah, you get my point, right? I can hear it from my house. It's what it is.
and you'll get more complaints once Northridge Farms opens, because it backs right up almost to it.
Oh, absolutely. But they knew that
Right.
when they bought the farmer's property, because the
Right.
cows didn't care,
Correct.
right? So I think it would be I think a presentation is fabulous. I'd like you to share this with, if Scotty and everybody else agrees, I think it should go out in the monthly newsletter. And I think we should find the people who were complaining to us via email. Because what we find is most people are uninformed, right? They're good people, but they're uninformed. So I know we got a couple emails specifically saying we're dumbasses. So I think this should be emailed to them directly, to everybody who complained. And then I believe it should go out en masse in one of the monthly newsletters. Is the range a stop on your Citizens Academy?
It is not. Mr. Endries recommended things like that, or to have a Citizens Day, maybe a lottery, because we can only take so many
Sure.
people out there, but to take them out and have them look around and experience some of that. So we would need to follow up more with attorneys as to
Sure.
whether or not they should be allowed to shoot. I don't
Right.
know what the liability is there, but we've been talking about some.
I mean, at least a stop on the Citizens Academy. I mean, I don't know how many cups you handed out, Mayor, but
There's a bunch.
was that, Scotty, was that the biggest Citizens Academy?
There was, what, 18 here.
18, but big, right?
Yeah.
So, right, whether they, now if you're wanting to shoot, we should do a range day as a
Yeah.
council and seeing how we're on payroll. I believe we're covered with liability, so I'm in favor of,
There you go.
let's have,
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff McKenna and I did have the pleasure of shooting the machine gun the town used to own when we were on council. That we no longer own a machine gun, is that correct?
Correct. It was a UMP, and we do not have it in service now.
But that was fun. Yes.
Expensive, but fun.
Yeah, the brass flying was expensive. But
Well,
thank you.
and to answer the machine gun conversation, that is often that volley of 2 shots in 2 seconds
It's not a
when you
machine
have
gun.
12 people standing in line. So when they're saying there were bullets whizzing over my head, you saw the layout, we're not shooting at anything, there's nothing behind the range, and the complainants are actually behind us, like we talked about with the noise. But also, it's not machine gun fire, they're relatively certain it is, it's just really rapid trigger pulls
With a bunch of people.
with a bunch of people. Yes.
Is the biggest complainer the mayor's neighborhood?
No, it's actually not Weaverville residents. It are the folks that have built on Aiken Road on the opposite
All those
side of the
apartments that the
bridge,
county
that-
approved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
down there. And
Tell them
they-
to go fly a kite. I'll tell them, forward me their emails.
We do our best to be good neighbors.
It was there before they built that development, is that correct?
Yes, sir. And in,
I'm a good
well
neighbor.
used, it was well used.
I'm a good neighbor. You don't hear me complaining, do you?
No, sir.
Chief Everett, I do want to say how much I appreciate you guys putting this presentation together, and I appreciate
Perfect.
your diligence in over-training your officers. You know, the minimum standard is a minimum standard, and the fact that you go over and above that to keep all of us safe and yourselves safe is to be highly commended, and I do appreciate the efforts that you guys do that. I remember when I went through Citizens Academy, you know, you have the minimum standard of 80% that the state requires, but if I'm not mistaken, and Brandon, you can probably answer this, what is our percentage of passing?
So, our percentage of passing?
So, you know, we have
Or
80, the score.
Our threshold, okay,
Yes.
so ours is 80%.
Mhm.
The state, at the time you went through Citizens Academy, was only 70%.
Mhm.
And it was also with a much larger target, what they, is termed as the B-27 target. It's targeted with a big orange dot on it. I like to call it the broadside of a barn target.
Gotcha.
So we actually use the nomenclature for it's a TQ-19 target. It's about 80% the size of the B-27 target, so it is a much harder target to get full point value hits on.
I think she's
Especially-
asking too, that I think we all score in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Much higher, yeah. Right now, I believe our average is, I
want to say it's over 95%.
All right, so we gotta have a competition now. We gotta go town council versus staff. I would like, yes, and I'll buy lunch. I will buy lunch. Let's have a competition.
I'm a real steady hand.
Well, you can.
Who's buying the ammo?
I'll pay for the ammo for the council.
Yeah, one quick question. The 127 Quarry Road is a small parcel, I believe. And, you know, Andrew, based on your comments, it sounds like there is development encroaching on what was once upon a time a buffer.
A cow pasture, yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, are we at continued risk for infill development, you know, close to our firing range?
Well, Northridge Farms is just north, and
Yeah.
there's, to the west, there's still some open pasture. That,
Correct.
But, I mean, I don't know if there's any plans there, but, and then on Aiken, that's pretty close too, so the development is kind of encroaching around the 127 quarry property.
Yeah, I mean, there's 36 acres to the west that's owned by the Hyder family. And we'll see if they sell to a developer. I'm sure they will, but to Mark's point, everything north that's done. There's nothing, there's the mountain where the cell phone tower to the east of it, and that's it. You know,
That's town property though.
right, and there's a couple other spots below Kai Fields that
We really do not have any mechanism for ensuring a buffer zone around the facility.
Well, we have it to the east, to Mark's point.
Other than the property that we own. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that's buffered.
That parcel's like 30-some acres in total size, but the shooting range is, what, an acre or two in size, so.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
No, the gun range property is 23 acres.
Chief Oberlin, do you have concerns now, or do you anticipate future times where you'll have people that encroach on that property, you know, using the trail system that goes along the river and then getting too close to the shooting range? I mean, I'm concerned that this is going to be a problem for you guys.
Right, so that was why Mr. Endries and I were working together. I think it was part of the Greenway and pedestrian research there. And the decisions have not been made, but there has been some talk about the Greenway wasn't necessarily going to be, what's the word? It was very steep coming off of the Northridge Farms.
Yes.
And the drop down to the river was a grade that was going to be impassable for people, particularly if they were looking at ADA accessibility and whatnot. And so that did keep folks from dropping into the range from Northridge Farms direction. When we started evaluating how that was gonna play out, they would have had to stay far away to kind of ease their way down. And Mr. Endries and I talked a bit about the way that the Greenway was coming, as you come down Quarry Road from Public Works, that if it's following the river, you can keep it to the left, following the river, and
Where the
taking it
bamboo trees
actually
are to the
farther
left.
away, yes. And we have thrown out some ideas about having a fence that, or a gate, excuse me, that closes, so when it's going to be in use, we would close that gate to hopefully stop citizens from walking that gravel way. We've got some other gates and things that we try to use now to keep them back. I don't think any plan is foolproof. It is currently marked as no trespassing, and we have to stop shooting sometimes because people have let their dogs off leash to run back there. And so I don't know, there could be a campaign for publishing days that the range would be in use, for example, and trying to help people know that they cannot come down there. We fly a range in use flag, building more fences or gates that can be closed behind us to keep them from progressing on certain days. And then the plan, I believe, to keep the walkway kind of trailing off to the left when the range is on the right and following the river.
I have a
So
question.
right there, I'm sorry, right there at that intersection where people could go to the left and be safe and not to the right, could we put a sign there that says range and use?
Mhm.
So I don't know if there's one there now, but that may be something we could do to help identify that.
Yeah, we're absolutely open to suggestions and working together to try to make it safe for everybody.
Correct, thank you.
My question is have there been any developers that have come looking for land for development, ask the question, are there any firing ranges around here before they start to develop? I mean, that maybe should be something that's advertised in some way so that before they start building, and then the people that start buying the houses that didn't know that there was a firing range in their backyard. And then you're stuck with this, what are you gonna do then? I mean, that's on them, but we still have to meet the objectives that we have to meet. Air Fund, Police Department, make sure that they're all engaged and qualified. So, and I used to shoot on 800 acres of land. And they were shooting some really high-powered rifles at steel targets, and it was a real interesting place to be on Saturdays. So.
The last couple weeks, we were talking about the budget, and there was a lot of talk about sort of getting a handle on the costs incurred by the town of services donated or services rendered. One thought I had potentially with the shooting range is maybe it'd be helpful to get an idea of how much the town contributes to the other partner agencies and what that sort of impact on staff time and budgets might be a little bit. I didn't bring it up for the budget cycle. I'm not proposing anything now, but potentially down the road, it might be nice to kind of have a better understanding of those kind of costs and maybe even benefits too, that we can kind of use to just help, just understand the shooting range better.
For the most part, when other agencies are using it, they provide their own firearms instructors. So Detective Paris will go down and unlock things, and that now they're getting more familiar, so they don't need the grand tour, but he'll go down, here's this, here's that, here's where you use whatnot, those kinds of things. And then we don't have staff involved. They do that and call us if they need us. In other situations, he has stayed the day and been an instructor there, but when in BLET, that we consider that recruiting, because the students remember how he treated them. They have come back and swooned over the fact that we have a range and that they will be well trained. They like him. How many times do you remember how the person treated you? You don't necessarily remember what you learned, and he is a great instructor out there, so they remember both, that he was nice, and that they learned a lot from him. So we don't have a lot of cost in there. I will certainly do that.
I'm not proposing, just.
It just has
something to
not
think
been
about down the
something,
road.
and then APD, like an agency head meeting, I said, hey, we've got a lot of trees to plant. And they sent so many people out that I felt like we were being idle. I mean, I thought 180 trees was a lot until they sent a SWAT team out.
Wow.
And, and they're like, okay, well, we had lunch, but we're already done, and it's 10:30. So, like, when we ask for help, they're quick to help. They've also agreed at agency head meetings to donate perishable items, so soap and paper towel and lead wipes and anything that, not perishable, consumable. I apologize, but consumable items. They bring their own targets and whatnot, so it is use of the space, but it hasn't cost us really anything that I can think of. You?
They trample my grass.
Yeah.
It's green again, so. It grows back.
Yeah, but they've helped us on spring cleanup days and the whole gamut.
Well, I appreciate you working with the other agencies to make this such a successful place for not just Weaverville, but for other agencies to come in and do training and all these great things that you're doing, and I really am thankful to that.
Thank you for saying so. And we did notice that there is a law out there that law enforcement agencies should provide 48 hours notice of the range if there's noise complaints, and we do provide Chief Harris a live calendar of everybody that's booked it. So we've been doing that, and we stumbled into that by mistake. It was like, hey, look, we comply, but he's got a calendar. So if we need that to be something, like I said, if you think it would be useful to put it out there, range and use on these days, we can also do that. Certainly the calls rise in the spring and in the fall because we use them more for the range more because of the weather and because of the earlier darkness.
Yes.
We are not out there in 94 degrees in the middle of the day or waiting until it gets dark super late. Anything else?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Angela Reese, Public Works, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Great presentation, Chief. I'm here to present to you tonight our quarterly report, and this is going to cover the period from February to May of this year. And I'll keep this brief for you guys. Activities of note, we've had some more training, and I'm pleased to present Jacob Holcomb, Hunter Cox, Chad Rogers, and Tyler Fox. Jacob received his Class A distribution license. That is one of the highest certifications that you can get on the distribution side. They are highly trained in system hydraulics, water quality, and emergency response, ensuring residents receive safe, reliable, and compliant tap water. Hunter Cox received a Class C distribution, so more and more of our operators are coming online with their certifications. These are difficult classes that they take, have math and all kinds of things that they have to know. But the Class C is the first level of compliance that you receive, and that just teaches them how to look for leaks, teaches them the basic calculations of flow and things of that nature. We've got some other folks on the operations sides, Chad Rogers and Tyler Fox. They had both went and tested at the DMV and received their CDL learner's permit. So this is a good segue to bring this up. I have drivers that are learning the garbage truck, and we're receiving complaints for cans that are being knocked over. And so I'm responding to those complaints to please have some grace, because that truck is not very easy to drive for a new learner. And sometimes they don't see that they've knocked cans over. And we do try to go and pick those up, but you may hear some complaints until we get some people trained. But we are training our younger staff to learn how to drive those trucks.
I have been on those trucks, and I am so grateful for Jeremy, and he gets in some tight spaces, and I don't know how he does it, but they do a really great job.
Thank you. We had our first open house. We hosted that in April, and that was a really well-attended event. Very proud of that event, and we intend to do that again next year. We provided an opportunity for public education on environmental and stormwater awareness at the same time. We also hosted our Citizens Academy, and that went over very well, and we had a lot of interest in activities and what staff does. So I approached that a little differently. We gave some presentations for about an hour, and we spent the rest of our time actually, it's echoing, sorry, thank you. We spent the rest of our time all hands-on with the students and letting them go out and see our trucks and speaking to the staff, because there's no one better to tell you what they do than our staff. They're experts in what they do, and as you saw, Councilmember Young about the garbage truck. Upcoming events, 4th of July, we are getting prepared for that. Key accomplishments, I just want to mention that we have not quite finished, it is almost finished, the Lake Louise Overlook. The thing that we owe will be some metal grated type fencing. We're looking for a powder coated type fencing to go behind the split rail. And the split rail fencing saved the town about $16,000. So originally we were looking at putting some decorative metal fencing there, and the quote went from 16 up to like $24,000. So we decided that we were gonna save the town money and just go by split roll, and I think it looks really gorgeous. Leaf collection has ended. That was in May. We are supporting special events, and in the next quarterly report, I plan to include, as a council member, I heard the request. You guys want to know what we're spending, how many, how many staff we're using, what we're spending, and hours that we donate to all these events. So moving forward, I'm gonna include that in your report for you. Water production, these are just the basic numbers. Your water production, of note is, let's see here, we will go to, I'm gonna give you an update on the bulk storage tanks. One was delivered last Friday. Actually, both were delivered last Friday. One was set. The other will be set in the next few weeks. We are still on target. So your report says July. I'm gonna go ahead and say mid-August. That's more realistic timeframe that we should have that project completed. You will get an update on the water treatment plant at your next meeting. The actual expansion at your next meeting. So distribution, they're reading an average of 3,353 meters each month. Of note in that section, 363 service locates. Locates are called in through 811, and that's when someone is building, they're gonna put something in, they are planting flowers. You have to request a locate, and so that's a combination of your utility folks that come out and they mark where the water and the sewer and the gas and your electrical lines. That is increasing, and I should have enough data to give you numbers of year over year, how much that has increased, but that's the largest number since I have been here, and I look for that to increase even more as we go forward. That is taking a lot of staff time to comply with that. Stony Knob, we're trying to wrap that project up. That is, there's no fault of the town. That is a contractual, contractor delays that has caused that. And hopefully, I'm trying to push for that to be done by the end of the month.
Are there any penalties with that delay to the contractor?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry, are there any penalties to the contractor for the delays
Yes, sir.
monetarily?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Informed them today. That will be liquidated damages.
Thank you.
For 4 months' worth.
Perfect.
Regular services, stormwater, streets, sanitation. Everyone is interested in the garbage truck. We finally got our garbage truck back. It is modified, and it has a different wheelbase under it. So I'm being told that we are experiencing no issues with the wheelbase. When we got it back shortly after, it did have an electronic issue. So this garbage truck, it is so smart that it is built off all these sensors. It's for safety. So if anything is ajar or something is not right, it will shut itself down. It will not allow you to empty it or do certain things. So they started having trouble with the arm, and I can only guess it's because it has sat for the better part of a year, not being used. The company came out, fixed it free of charge. It took them a couple of times. We're back in business right now. Important to note that until we have redundancy with our garbage truck, if we have a breakdown, you will see the old truck out, and you could collect and trash that way. It's just the nature of it. I have some irons in the fire that I may be able to apply for some grants. I don't know. I have a meeting scheduled at the end of the month to see what that could look like. So I am trying to exhaust all avenues before we start capital planning for our next big purchase. 123 set-outs. I think that's important because those are our elderly and disabled residents, and those pickups are done by hand every week by one person, and he goes into their door and picks up. It is a program, and anybody can apply for it. It goes through a little process. We look at it, where it's at, who it is. They have to sign a paper to give us property, but that is a service that we offer for our residents who are getting elderly. And if you know anyone, I would encourage them to, give us a call. We're happy to accommodate them. One other thing to note for the Knoll at Lake Louise and for, you're going to see one up here at the clock lot. One of our employees, David Fisher, had went on vacation and he observed some benches. And they're very sturdy, good looking benches. And he came back and designed a bench and built it for about $275 and some change. And he did this to save the town money because when we purchase benches, those are very expensive, like at least $1,700, $1,800. And the bench is about the size of half of your table. So I'm excited to roll those out. They've actually burned the wood, and those will be coming out. You should see them out in the next couple of weeks, but they're at their shop if anybody wants to stop by and check them out. I'm very proud of him for doing that. Bridge, I-40, we let you know as soon as we know. That project, the one that is past Quarry Road, that part of I-40.
26.
I'm sorry, yes, 26, I-26, that would be the interstate. So that bridge, the I-26 bridge, they were out there paving today. They do plan to stay on track with a lane shift this month. I do not know what day it's already snowed. I saw it today, the traffic is just not doing very well today. We also got a notification on the 19th, so a few days ago, that DOT would be milling Weaver Boulevard. And that's all the way from that bridge on I-26 all the way up to Main Street.
You got a notification 3 days ago?
Yes, sir, on the 19th.
And we want to let the DOT decide what to do with that piece of property.
We're grateful for a notification, though.
Well, you're grateful that they gave you at least a 3-day notice?
Yes, so that they came and they are doing, that's gonna be, the gift that gives for about three months is what they're, or 3 weeks, at least, maybe 3 months. I don't think 3 months, I think it's 3 weeks.
3 weeks, sounds more.
So they're gonna get their paving contractors. The important thing to understand is when people are complaining, there are going to be complaints, it will be milled and the road will be terrible, it will be rough, and it is DOT, and we're just gonna.
Weaver Boulevard?
Yes.
It's already milled today, at least.
They did it
Oh, really?
today.
At least Reese's property.
Yeah. So I-40 was completely, I'm sorry, I-26, I commute I-40, I've done it for years, I apologize. I-26, it was completely backed up all the way through town today, and Weaver Boulevard had something to do with it. So it will impact our emergency services, they are aware. It just, if y'all, have any business in town, you might want to be aware of that for the next little while.
26 was down to a lane too, so I don't know if that was part of it.
I think that's what I have. I wanted to announce, and Jennifer and Scotty may have already told you this, we got the official notification that we received the $1.25 million grant. It was for the engineering fees and the generator purchases for the water treatment plant. So that official notice had came to us. But that's trying to keep it in a nutshell. I would like to encourage people to visit our website. This is my plug. Please visit the website and look at the sanitation schedules. They're all on there, and what to do and to not to do. Our residents are coming back into the area, visiting, and we're starting to see an uptick in people leaving garbage bags outside of their toters. And just a reminder, we cannot pick those up. We have one garbage truck driver. He does not get out at every stop. So it has to be in the toter, and then all of that is on the website. Y'all have any?
You did a fabulous job, thank you.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, ladies, we're going to be moving to closed session, so Mr. Frew, can you help us through that?
Yes, sir. We need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143, 318, 11A, 3 and 6. 3 is to consult an attorney and consider and give instructions on to handle a claim, and 6 is to discuss confidential personnel matters.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion to go into closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll meet you in the conference room.